Hello everyone, this is a full 7-round mock draft for the Arizona Cardinals. I used PFF's excellent, amazing mock draft simulator. The settings that I had for this particular one were either, I don't remember exactly because I oscillate back and forth between yes and yes for draft for need and draft for positional value. Between that and a lot for drafting for need and a little for positional value. I'm not sure exactly which one is a more accurate representation of what will actually happen in this year's draft, how teams will actually draft, but I would say one of those two is the closest approximation that we can get. Also, for the big board was a 50-50 blend between PFF's big board and basically the general public's big boards, the other websites' big boards. So let's jump right in here. It's already a minute in, and I took Kristian Fulton at 17. He's an amazing cornerback, graded really well in PFF's system. Also, I watch a couple of games on YouTube as best as I can, watch all the plays during that game, and take my opinion of the guy, of the player, and I thought he did extremely well. This year, he didn't do as well as last year. That's mainly due to a difference in scheme. He's not as good of a man-to-man corner as an off zone or an off corner. So teams will have to take that into consideration. I'm not sure exactly what the defensive coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals, if he runs more man or if he runs more off or zone coverage or quarters. There's all kinds of different coverage schemes. Either one, he's going to be a plus player, I feel. So I really like this guy. The knocks on him a little bit, or he's a bit undersized, doesn't have great arm length. You know what? The guy just plays really well. Played in the SEC against really tough competition. This guy is going to be really, really good, I feel. Unless this is the caveat for all players, unless there's some kind of, background on this guy. This guy is, personality-wise, or not smartness-wise, but just, intelligence-wise, personality-wise. If those two things are not in alignment, or they're not to say the person's dumb, but if they have difficulty grasping NFL coverage concepts, and if they're kind of a doo-doo head in the brain, they just kind of, then things are not going to work out. But I have no way to access that kind of background information on these guys, so I just go by tape. I go by PFF grading, and I take a look at the overall ranking, different people, Daniel Jeremiah, Bucky Brooks, some other YouTube personalities that do some NFL draft stuff. Mel Kiper Jr., I love him, but he's wrong a lot. Anyway, I'm going to be wrong a lot as well. But anyway, that's getting off track a little bit here. So Fulton, I think, is a great value at 17. I think he's a top 15 player, certainly, and getting him at 17 is wonderful. Cardinals can certainly upgrade their coverage unit. Moving on, 51, I took the offensive tackle, left tackle out of Boise State, Ezra Cleveland. His tape is pretty solid. His testing was really, really amazing at the combine for an offensive tackle. And for how the mock went, all the top guys were gone at this point. This one I don't feel super great about. I think Cleveland is certainly a top 50 player, so getting him at 51, great job. perfect, right in the range of how I would value him. He certainly fits a need in that Arizona, they need to upgrade that line. But he's a left tackle. They have DJ Humphries already. He's their left tackle. You'd be moving Cleveland over to right tackle. That's always tricky. I think the talent will win out. I also watched the PFF interview that Austin Gale did with Mr. Cleveland. He seems like he's got a good head on him, and from that little bit that you can glean from that interview. So overall, I think it's a solid pick. I don't think it's a home run pick there, but it's certainly a need. He certainly has the potential to be a above average player. So I think that's solid there. Next, moving on, is pick 72. I took Josh Uche. They have him listed out of University of Michigan. They have him listed as an edge player. I think that would be a fairly large mistake to put him on the edge. I see him as a linebacker similar to Zach Baun, who I might actually like a little better than Zach Baun, who he's going to be an off-ball linebacker / kind of middle linebacker that you're going to use to blitz a ton with. If you're blitzing with Baun, with Uche, if you're blitzing somewhere in the percentage of 40, 50, 60% of the snaps that you play him, and you can play those two players a lot, on many downs, you're going to get a lot of value out of that. Or, excuse me, can't talk, sorry. You're going to get a ton of value out of that player then, because small side tangent. Defense, I really feel defense more than offense. You got to take that player and know their strengths, know their weaknesses, and change your scheme, accommodate that player, put them in the role best for them to succeed. Like box safeties, don't stick them. And like last year, Jonathan Abrams, that dude, for the now Las Vegas, I'm going to say Oakland Raiders a ton because they're the Oakland Raiders to me. But anyway, too many tangents. Point is that with Uche, I think it's going to be really easy for teams to misuse this player. If he's used or he's used, in my opinion, in a certain way, this guy I really strongly feel will do very, very well. Use him to blitz a ton. You look at the way that he drops back in coverage on a couple of snaps in a couple of the games I watched. He can do that really well. He's got good speed. So one of the analysts out there was making fun of him supposedly running a 4.5. I wouldn't fucking doubt that he ran a 4.5. Look at the fucking tape. Look at the way that he moves fucking back. He fucking moves. He really does. I'm getting a little excited here. He fucking moves. He doesn't fly like Bruce Irvin did off the edge. But this guy really moves. Like he can get back. He can drop. He can get a ton of fucking depth in the middle of the field. He can cover the short zones on either side of the field. This guy, I think, is going to be at minimum a average pass protector and an above average blitzer. You can stick him on the edge. You can blitz him up the middle. He's got really long arms. He's a shorter guy, so he's going to have that fucking leverage advantage. A couple of reps against Tristan Wirfs, he gives up like 60 to 80 pounds to Tristan Wirfs, and he shoves Tristan Wirfs right into the fucking quarterback almost a couple of fucking times. And Wirfs is a top 10, top 15 fucking tackle in this draft, and he shoved that fucker right into the quarterback a couple times. Not Wirfs adjusted as the game went on, but Uche, this is why I don't like him on the edge. He's sub 250, and sub 250 guys, weight-wise, do not hold up on the edge. So that's why I think he's going to get maybe misused. You stick him as an off-ball linebacker that blitzes a ton, the same way that PFS Mike Renner thinks about Zach Bond, or I mean just PFF in general, I think. And this guy's going to be fucking studly. He's going to do well. Anyway, okay. So, and then moving on, let's wrap this up a bit. 111, I got Geno Stone, another guy that PFF really likes. Honestly, the first once or twice that I saw him, he didn't really pop to me. But then as I watched more and more of him, I saw why PFF really likes him. His instincts are amazing. Like if you look at tape, it appears like he is seeing things before they happen or very quickly as they happen. So he's at the right place at the right time a ton of times. His issue is, well, he's a smaller dude, has like his arms are only 29 and a half inches or something like that. He's got shorter arms for what NFL prototype or what scouts want an NFL prototype to be. The guy just has amazing instincts, I would say, and he's coming out of Iowa. There's a history with Micah Hyde, Desmond King, who's Amani Hooker from last year. Jury's still out on him, the Tennessee Titans player now, but Iowa produces safeties, corners. They haven't been great on, but safeties they've definitely produced. So I would feel really good about him at 111. He's certainly worth that selection, I feel, or worth his potential at that number 111 is you're getting great value, I think. Moving on, at 114, I got Albert O. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that last name. Tight end, University of Missouri. He's a player that PFF really, really does not like because he didn't really produce. And what I mean by didn't produce is that he only averaged about 3 catches a game and only had maybe about like 40 yards a game. That's not his exact stats, but that's somewhere in the ballpark. So PFF's a lot lower on him. I just look at tight ends that are 6'5", 250 plus and run a 4.5 40. And that shows up on tape too. I'm not calling Austin Gale out. Austin, you're my guy. You do really well. You and Mike Renner and all the PFF guys, I think, do really, really well. But anyway, Gale said that he didn't see the 4.5 show up on tape. I would just ask him to kindly relook at the tape again. You see the 4.5 on tape. That guy runs down the fucking field like Noah fucking Fant does. He's not exactly shot out of a cannon, but that guy zips down the goddamn field a lot faster than you think. And he catches the ball well. The issue with the lack of production, I think he's more than likely a fairly limited route runner, is my guess. And then also this past year, if you look at that quarterback from University of Missouri, I don't want to be shitting on you, dude, but you were not throwing the ball down the field to Albert O very much. You just weren't getting the ball. You're getting pressured a lot. But anyway, I digress. A lot of tangents here. Albert O, the physical traits that he has, and I do think he has some decent production because on those minimal amount of catches, every catch that he has is like a 15-yard fucking catch. So you get, and he was, I think, I could be wrong, I don't have the PFF data, but I think he was in there blocking a ton too. It seemed like they weren't, he wasn't running 80% of his snaps weren't down, go routes. They were he was blocking a shit ton of times. He's inline blocking a lot. So I think that's, I maybe just because I like the guy from last year and I like him this year as well. Maybe I'm making excuses for his lack of production, but what I see from the physical traits, and I don't think the production is that bad overall when you take, not some caveats, but just, how do I say it? When you take a couple of other things into consideration, I can kind of understand maybe a bit more of lack of production. So anyway, 114, I would take him like, it depends on how the board fell, but I'd take him like, 75, 80. So getting him at 114, I think that's really, really solid. Then moving on, 131, we got McTelvin Egan, I believe. He's a defensive tackle from University of Arkansas. I like this guy quite a bit too. For this range in the draft, your chance of getting above average players is not very high. The chance compared to the drafting average is about 2% or 3% here. I think this guy's got more than 2 or 3% chance to become an above average player for a team, whatever team drafts him. Here I have the Cardinals taking him. So what am I saying about him? What do I like about him? Overall, he's just his hand usage is above average. I think he's got a bit of pop to him. He's not going to hold up against double teams at all, really, but holding up against double teams, that's, to a degree, that's run stuffing big fatties. I shouldn't say that about people. That's kind of mean. I apologize. It's larger human defensive tackles that run stuff that are going to hold up against double teams. He's not exactly one of those, but I think he's got solid pass rush, above average hands, above average kind of burst getting through the hole, being able to pass rush. So I think he's very solid there. Moving on, we got at 179, Shane Lemieux. I have no idea how to say his name. I apologize, Shane, for butchering your name. He's a guard from University of Oregon. That entire Oregon line is pretty solid. The Cardinals need more offensive line help. You're just, honestly, once you get past 100, 120 draft picks, you're just looking, if the person you draft after 100 to 120, if they just make your team as a backup, that's a win, because not even something like 15 or 20% of the players drafted after about 120, 125, not even 20% of those players even make the fucking roster. I think this guy's got better than a 20% chance of making it onto the Cardinals roster. So I feel like he's a good selection there. Then at 202, I decided to take my favorite quarterback in this draft. Well, I mean, Joe Burrow is rightly so the best prospect in this draft. But besides him, man, I thought Eric Eager, PFF's analyst, I thought he was making a mistake. He kept mentioning this Josh Love guy, and I go, Jordan Love, what are you doing? His name is Jordan Love. Well, lo and behold, there's another Love quarterback in this draft, and his name is Josh Love, San Diego, San Jose State quarterback. It's real tough to get any YouTube video. All you're seeing are highlight videos of him, but what you do see from him, from those highlight videos, is a guy that can throw it down the field accurately. And he put up a ton of points for that San Jose offense. Now, question marks is, I wasn't able to see full game tapes of him because he went to San Jose State and they don't put up San Jose versus Hawaii games on YouTube. Like I can watch Christian Fulton LSU versus Alabama LSU. I can watch full game tapes, or I can watch all the plays from a certain game of a prospect for all these other guys. For Josh Love, I wasn't able to do that, so I have to go off of Eric Eager's recommendation of this guy and the highlights. The fact that he throws the ball down the field well. Seems like he's got at least average arm strength. He's got looks like really nice accuracy. But those were the highlight reels. I don't know from what do you call it? Play to play, all the plays, if he was always accurate. So I don't know. He's a guy that, or he's a QB prospect that I think if you take him anytime, like even 125, I would take him. The whole reason why I took him here at 200 is I'm just like, he was so good of a prospect. I like him so much. And there was no one else that I felt would really help the Cardinals there. I mean, you're drafting at 200. These guys are essentially the same as a UDFA, an undrafted free agent at that point. You're getting the same level of player at this point. Don't kid yourself. You're not getting any better tier of a player. But anyway, I took Love there because he's a QB. He's got a shot. Yeah, they just took Kyler Murray. He's not going to start. He's not going to sniff anything. But as just having a solid backup and potential, this guy shows out really well in some preseason games. You can trade him for some better value, or you can retain him and have a solid backup QB, which I think has a fair bit of value nowadays. And then finally at pick number 222, I took Freddie Swain, wide receiver, University of Florida. This guy, what can I say? I like his speed, his size, his height, size combination is decent. I think he's like 6 foot 190, 95, something like that. 6 foot, 6'1", something like that. He's a slot only guy. You're not going to stick him on the outside. I watched a couple of games of him. What I liked is that he had some solid speed, and he seems like a really well, I shouldn't even compare him to Justin Jefferson. That's just wrong. But he's just, he's got speed. He can get down the field. He can get, 10, 20, that intermediate area in the middle of the field as a slot guy. I feel like, you're 200, this is a 222nd pick in this draft. I feel like the chance for him to hit and to be at least a solid player is higher than other guys. Now that might only be like the difference between 5% and 2%, but if I can take a guy that I feel 5% in versus the national drafting average is only 2% at the place where you're drafting, then I'm going to take that 5% guy all day long, every day. Sign me up, click the button, dunk the hoop. I have no other analogies. I think he's decent. He's decent. He's got speed. Going around in circles now. And to wrap this up, holy shit, 24 minutes. Wow, this is a real long video. But anyway, finally, I have to mention the trade that I did. I think the trade is slightly unrealistic because what I found with PFS Mock Draft Simulator is that they tend to give you, the person trading down often will get a better haul or better compensation than what really happens in real life. For example, here, they went from Dallas moved up to the 8th spot. They gave away the 17th, the 51st, and the 179th. I think that's borderline of what they could get. I think they could, what Arizona could get in a trade. That 51, I think maybe a more realistic is they could certainly get 2 picks, but the 2 picks would probably be in the hundreds. So 2, maybe like a 112 and like a 150. I don't know exactly what Dallas has for draft ammunition, but somewhere in that range. So anyway, what I want, or what I'm meaning to say, is that this trade I think is a bit unrealistic. I think Arizona got more than what the average is for what teams give up when they trade up. So I think certainly at 8, there's a possibility of them being able to move back and getting some decent compensation for that. I don't hate it because I think 8 is kind of this weird spot in the draft where you don't always get the value of 8, because you can get players at 13, 15, 17 sometimes, 17 or 18, that are better than the player at 8. I mean, you just look at something like the 2014 draft. They had players from like 9 or like from 10 or 11 to 17 all made the Pro Bowl. Odell Beckham Jr. was drafted 12th to the New York Giants. Aaron Donald, defensive tackle, St. Louis Rams, St. Louis at the time, 13th, went 13th then. And then anyway, I just watched that, rewatched that first round of the 2014 draft. Point that I'm trying to make is that the difference between 8 and like 14, there's not a ton of difference. There really isn't. Most drafts you can get even a better player, because the way the drafts go, and that it's like a crapshoot, or it is a crapshoot. But anyway, I'm kind of all over the place here. This is nearly 30 minutes long. If you made it all the way through, I really sincerely want to thank you very, very much for listening to me. That really means a lot. It's going to be one of the first couple of videos I'm going to upload. One of my first couple of ever videos that I put up. And thanks a ton for listening, and hope you have a great day. Bye.